Sports Day coming up this week. We're joined with four ladies from our office: Christina Moore-Avina, who is the Director of Community Relations and Entertainment; Elisa Morel, Marketing Manager and now Promotions Manager; Olivia Pasquarelli, who's the Director of Creative Services; and Nicole LaMonica, butt kicker in the ticket sales office, Premium Sales Manager and Group Sales Specialist. So big week, women in sports. You guys are women in sports. How did you get into it, and how'd you fall in love with it? Christina.
I'm going first? Okay. I actually kind of fell into sports. I was a Brooklynite, born and raised here. Bensonhurst, was a Cyclones fan growing up, was a Mets fan. I have, picture of myself as a baby in a Mets onesie, so kind of had no choice in the matter. But no, I love this community and I loved the Cyclones. So I had started on the dance team here back in 2010. And then from there, my love of entertainment kind of spiraled into a career in sports. I worked here for 3 seasons on the dance team, then transitioned to entertainment coordinator. I worked with Pee Wee's dance crew, who's been around for 6 years. And then I also worked for the NFL. So I found myself on that end of things as well as a flight crew cheerleader for the NFL. So my love for entertainment and performing kind of led me to a career in sports. And my love for the community, my passion for working community relations all kind of tied in nicely together. So I was able to take the things that I love in life and put it into the sports world. And there's never an identical season. There's always something that's different and exciting about sports, which I think is really unique. And we have a lot of opportunities here to take our own traits and our own qualities that we're good at and kind of interject it into the sports world. So that's my little background in sports.
Elisa?
I grew up in sports, it was very present in my household, so I knew it was something I've always wanted to get into. Like Christina mentioned, sports is unlike any other. You always have that element of surprise and kind of keeps you reeled in. And every experience I had going to a sporting event, whether it was going to a Mets game growing up, being a fan of that organization, I knew the way I felt going to a game, I wanted to be a part of that and share that experience, or make that experience possible for somebody else. So I knew going into college, need to find something to get me involved in the industry, and here we are. I wanted to come back to New York and make that dream of mine happen. So that's kind of why I'm in the sport industry and really be able to share my passion with others who feel the same way about sports.
All right, the creative side, Olivia.
I have no background at all in sports, but I went to school in Brooklyn for graphic design and communications, and I worked in the photography field for years, and I was just looking for an environment that was more like interesting and rambunctious, and I love Coney Island. I've always loved Coney Island. I already lived out here, and when I saw this job listed, I was like, this is perfect. It's a very fun, exciting job. Things change every single day. Like, I get to do so many different things, which is why I love it. And I've really started to like baseball. It's fun. So that's how I got here.
And Nicole, how did you fall in love with sports in general and then ended up here?
So I have known, just like Elisa, from the beginning I wanted to be in sports. My whole college essay was dedicated to sports. I went to one of the best sport management programs in the country, thankfully, UMass Amherst. And I remember when I was looking at colleges, it was not something that was popular at all. I only graduated with about 35 other sport management majors, so I really kind of had to make a splash in order to get involved. So right after my freshman year at UMass, I interned for the Patriots. I did just volunteer work. I got no credit for it, no payment, just signed people up for their credit card at their games and camp. And that just starting so early kind of spiraled me into everything. I was Billy Harner, who was our director of communications. I was his intern at the Mets in 2010. Moved to Boston to try and stay in Massachusetts, working for BC, and then realized that I'm a wimp and I needed to move home. So I reached out to Billy. There was an opening here, and 8 years later, here I am. So.
Well, you guys obviously proven rock stars so far, and most of you guys have been in sports for a while. From the outside looking in, when you got started, did you think maybe it would be a little difficult? Well, the players are mostly all male, staff is mostly male. Did you find it to be maybe a challenge when you were looking into it?
Especially me when I first started here. I was the other woman who worked here on game day staff. I was the only one full time when I first started. We had Madison and Michelle come in and help out a little seasonally, and then they became full time as well. But for me, being the only kind of female in the office to start, like we have Sharon, our admin assistant, we have our lovely accounting ladies, but the game day staff. So that was kind of like really just thrown right into it. As at Boston College too, all men. So it was, I had to learn how to be really tough really early on. So.
You guys feel that same way?
Yes, I think, of course, in any industry you face challenges, especially being in a male-dominated industry. You just have to work as hard as they do, if not even harder, to prove that you're qualified enough to be here. But that comes along with the territory, and it's any other industry is the same, so just gotta keep working hard.
Yeah, it was different than I thought. When I applied to this job, I was really worried about what the environment would be like, and I was like, I grew up in a creative world, and I went to art school, and I had no connection to this world whatsoever, and saw it in a different way than it actually is. And then I interviewed here, and Billy's office is full of bobbleheads, and people were making jokes, and I just felt very comfortable. So I knew right away that it would be a good place for me. And the industry I came from, photography and fashion, is extremely male dominated and in a negative way, hard to get into, to the point where this feels like a lot better.
Christina, you have probably up there with Nicole as the most experience working in sports. So from your side, what are the day-to-day challenges that maybe a woman may face and men don't know anything about or don't face?
I think just constantly feeling like you need to prove yourself. No matter how qualified you are, sometimes you might even be overqualified. And, just walking into a room and demanding that respect because you know your worth, you know you're here for a reason, and you know what you bring to the table. And I think just as a woman in sports, sometimes that's where the everyday challenge is constantly feeling like you still need to prove yourself, even though you have the qualifications, you've proven yourself over and over and over again. So I think that's what's unique with women in sports is men don't necessarily have to kind of keep proving. Once they hit that plateau, it's like, okay, you earned your stripes. And yet sometimes we walk into a room and we're second guessed when, in the back of our minds, not to be girl power about it, but we know what we're worth, we know what we do, we got here for a reason, we're proud of the work that we put out there. So just kind of staying true to who we are and knowing at the end of the day, there's going to be those days where you kick yourself and say, I wish I would have said this in that meeting, or I wish I would have spoke up because I have something of quality to say. So just being your own champion and knowing that, every day is going to be a challenge, but you got to fight through it and know your worth.
Nicole,
Yeah, snowballing off of that, honestly, it's so true. And then I feel like everything Christina said is just so accurate. And then you come to this time where, especially I'm on our sales team and I'm the only female on our sales team. And there are times when you want to speak up and then you have to stand your ground and put your foot down. And then you're looked at as a G-rated version, a brat, or a snob, when you're really just saying exactly the same thing as the guy said. But because you're a female, you're supposed to act pretty, you're supposed to be pretty, act mature, and stay in line. And then sometimes you just can't do that. You have to speak up in order to get things done. And then you're not being a woman if you do that, because you're not supposed to be rude or snobby or, you're not supposed to be boisterous. You're supposed to just kind of sit there and, sometimes I have a lot to say. And you need to listen and not think that I'm just being bratty by saying it. Because if the same thing came out of someone else's mouth, they're not, oh, he's being a jerk. It's just, he's just being how he is.
Right.
So
If we're going to have a seat at the table, we're going to have a voice at the table.
That's right.
So there's no point of having a seat if you're not able to use your voice.
Right.
So to the young ladies that are watching this, that heard about what you guys do and now found out toughness is a key, leaning in is a key, what advice do you have for someone who's maybe 5 years old, 10 years old, thinking, I'd love to get into sports, but I'm just not quite sure I'll fit in?
You can do it. I think in my life I've learned whatever you put your mind to, if you really, really want to do it, you'll find a way to do it, and it might be harder, and that is unfair, but it's just one of the things that as a woman, when you're growing up, you learn that a lot of things you have to fight harder for, and it's going to make you stronger and better at your job, so in a lot of ways. So if you
absolutely
find find passion for it, just keep trying and be really determined, and you will get there.
Be yourself.
Yes.
Don't lose sight of who you are. Like if someone doesn't agree with you, don't change your opinion just to fit into the room. If you're the only woman in the room and you have a different opinion, speak up, say your mind, and stay true to yourself, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the most successful you can be when you're the person that you are, and not conforming to what the room wants you to be like.
Piggybacking off of, you know, what Nicole and Olivia said, if you're passionate about it, just push through. You're always going to have naysayers. Someone's always going to doubt you. But if you're passionate, your determination, and you know you're driving forward and really pushing for that goal of yours, people are going to see that. People are going to recognize that. You know, eventually you'll get the respect that you deserve. But just keep going. There's always a place for women in sports, and you know times are changing, but you still gotta really show that we're here to stay.
And don't be afraid to be prickly.
Yes.
Lisa and I went to the promo seminar this year, and we were fortunate enough, we went to a women in baseball breakfast.
Yes.
And there was one of the GMs from one of the teams was a woman. And it was a very informative and yet informal presentation in a way, where there was a conversation between the male GM and the female GM, both on even playing fields, yet talking about the challenges that they faced every day versus, you know, female versus male. And what she said was, you know, I come across as prickly. And I said that's so funny, because that's a great way to just kind of summarize the not rough exterior that we need to put on, but in a way like a little bit of the toughness. Don't be afraid to be prickly. Don't be afraid to be difficult. Don't be afraid to stand your ground and say, this is what I want. This is what we need to get accomplished, and this is how I plan on doing it. So don't be afraid to be prickly.
Good advice.
Well, this is
Prickly is much better than
Prickly.
snotty.
Prickly.
Better word than snotty and bratty. So.
Prickly.
When they said that, we both were like, that's interesting.
We like that.
We like that.
We use it during our everyday conversation.
We do.
I'll text Christina, I'll walk by her office, be prickly today.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
kind
ooh,
of
you're being a little prickly, but yeah, you gotta get things done. And if that means you gotta be a little prickly to get it done and make your voice heard, well then, damn it, I'm gonna be prickly.
Well, they said it a lot better than anyone else. They make this place run. Christina, thank you. Elisa, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Celebrating women in sports this week, and we're at the Cyclones getting ready to put the whole season together yet again, and these ladies are right there on the front lines of doing all that, so thank you, and be prickly.
Be prickly. Opening day, June 14th.
That's right. We'll see you there.